what she's really about. The community tonight, in our community, Jessica and I have been involved in the Rotary Club for many years. And I want to talk about this a little bit because there's been some misinformation out there by a couple candidates that talk deeply discouraging about the current Rotary Club in Desert Hot Springs, which I have no idea why. The Rotary Club is a business networking group that gets together once a week to make good things go on in your community. It's been here for many, many years. You want to talk a little bit about Rotary and how you got involved?
Well, I got involved, it's been a little bit, about 3.5 years ago. My fiance, Ed Malloy, said, hey, you need to come and join Rotary. And I said, I don't know. I used to go to a couple of lunches and nothing much was going on. Well, nothing could be further from the truth once I went to my first luncheon. We are so involved in youth programs there. Every single penny that we raise goes back to the youth in Desert Hot Springs. We have comedy shows. We do karaoke fundraisers. Our club is in all 5 of the elementary schools. We started Early Act there. We have Interact in the middle and high school. And then we also, one of the things I'm most proud of, we went up and we asked the principal, do you guys really need backpacks or is there something else we can do for you guys? And they said, you know what we need? We need emergency kits. Not like earthquake emergency kits, but we have little children that have accidents. They're young. And when that happens, they have to sit in the office, and it could be all day, and they have to miss all day of school. So we decided we would have bins at each one of the schools, and we would have t-shirts, shorts, underwear, and socks so that the children could come in, change clothes, and go right back to class and not miss a beat. And so we just, when they call up the schools, we replenish the clothes. And that's really one of my favorite things, and I'd like to see that at least valley-wide because I know it's good to have. And contrary to what people say, everybody in our city and beyond are welcome to come to our club. We have a lunch meeting once a week, and we have a board meeting once a month. Everybody is invited. There's no secret meetings. There's nothing else that goes on. We care about Desert Hot Springs, and we just, one last thing, we started our food program there when COVID started. Dana Johnson and Melanie, they asked if Rotary could get involved in delivering food to the seniors that weren't able to get out. So since March, we have about 8 volunteers now, and we go out every Wednesday and Thursday and deliver the food from Food Now to the seniors that can't get out, and also young families who do not have transportation and are now doing, distance learning. So those are some of the things that Rotary does, and I'm very proud and honored to be a part of that organization.
I always joke about it with my Rotary friends and members, is that even if I wasn't reelected, I'd still be Rotarian tomorrow. This is such a great opportunity to be part of your community, and unfortunately, the last year and a half, my work has taken a lot of time away from me being at the Rotary meetings, but I continue to support Rotary because of what comes out of Rotary. Jessica came to me about a year ago and said, what about, the Planning Commission? Is there a seat there or something that I could be involved in? Can I get more involved in our community? Which, not long after that, we started talking about maybe there's a council seat for you, and maybe there's, an opportunity there, and that's what I think prompted her to get to that point. But I don't want to belabor this point, but it's just sad out there when you see candidates running around talking deeply discouraging about programs like Rotary that have taken kids into leadership, are feeding families today. I want to talk a little bit about that. When COVID hit, I wanted to make sure that our families were fed because we knew unemployment was going to skyrocket. We knew there was going to be more families that needed help out there. I met with Food Now, Dana Johnson, who's the executive director, and I talked about the issues. We talked about the issues of feeding families. On average, they feed about 350 families a week. But with COVID, it got all the way up to 550 families a week. During that time, I started a Zoom meeting with our faith-based organizations, our senior center, our Food Now, and any other nonprofits that wanted to come in. Jessica stepped in from Rotary and said, hey, I have a program that I really want to start, which is getting out to the seniors and making sure the shut-ins get food. She brought Rotary members in, and they started working with the senior center, which then collaborated with Food Now, and now they deliver weekly up to 25, 30 meals a week to shut-in seniors, and now families are actually reaching out to them. Shut-in families meaning maybe dad's got to go to work, he takes the car, and mom doesn't have a car, and they're delivering these food boxes to these families in need. This is what community is about. These are what these organizations are about. And so we have a bi-weekly meeting on Zoom where we talk with these organizations, we continue to collaborate, and we're now going to continue this past COVID and make sure that all these organizations are working well together and make sure that the food gets out there. This past Sunday, because of what we were doing with the collaboration, the Sikh Temple came out and handed out 400 vegetable boxes and milk to 400 cars that drove in. I happened to have an appointment that morning, and at 9:30 in the morning, I'm calling. They started at 8. 9:30 in the morning, I'm calling Councilmember Gardner to see where they're at on the food distribution and telling them I'll be there in about 30 minutes. And he says, don't even come down. He says, we're handing out the last 10 boxes right now. An hour and a half into it, less than 2 hours, they gave away 400 boxes of food. Those are the types of programs that are really important to my heart. A lot of people realize that I volunteer in this community, but they don't know what I did. But before being on the city council, I volunteered for 20 years with the volunteer fire department. I was volunteered for 2 years with Food Now. I think it's important that somehow you get involved in your community, and not just during election time, that you're actually involved in your community, and that's why I'm supporting Jessica, because she's been involved in our community and she understands it. Let's talk a little bit about what's the hardest part about running for office.
Well, aside from COVID and not being able to really get out there and speak to people one-on-one and, door knock, do all of the normal things people do, I am fortunate because I have been here a long time. I do know a lot of people, so I'm on social media a lot. The thing that I have noticed mostly, and I really stay positive and I don't want to go to the negative. However, I used to think it's all those cities on the other side of the valley that are so negative towards Desert Hot Springs. And I actually was on the board of directors for Palm Springs Board of Realtors several years ago because I wanted to tell these realtors, show them how great Desert Hot Springs is. And that worked out really good, and people got, they really realized there's a lot more to offer over here. But in watching this current campaign, it's like I see the people that are negative and derogatory towards Desert Hot Springs are a few of our own residents. And that kind of makes me sad because if everybody just got out there and helped and worked together, think of where we could be. And that's what I like to see happen here down the road.
It's always been a tough spot. We, being the city council about 5 years ago when I became mayor, talked to the city manager at the time and said, our image is a big issue. So Desert Hot Springs has been doing our work. We have cleaned up our streets. We have made new medians. We're in the business district working with them now to clean up their businesses. My campaign promise to you this next 4 years, if I'm fortunate enough to be reelected by you, is that we're going into neighborhoods and we're going to get campaigns going in neighborhoods to clean up these neighborhoods. It is very unfortunate. We spend $250,000 to have a truck from Desert Valley Disposal just drive around town every day except for Sunday, and they basically, all they do is pick up trash. You as a homeowner can actually put your trash out in front of your house 3 times a year, and all you gotta do is call. And then 4 times a year, I believe there's a pickup. So 7 times a year, you can have trash in front of your house and get it picked up. We still have people driving through our deserts, we still have people driving down the roads and dumping trash, and that's just bad. And that gives us, and the reason I'm talking about this is that you get these Facebook messages. There's a picture of a pile of trash. Where is it at? How do you report it? We can help you with that. But putting that on Facebook and talking negatively about your city is something that we have to change because the city has done its part on trying to change our image. Now it's our job as constituents to make sure that we talk positive about our city. Let's see, what's been most rewarding about being a council candidate?
Just seeing all the really good people that I do know and how supportive they've been. I've been just amazed at people that have called me, people that I've sold homes to like 25 years ago and say, Jessica, we're voting for you because this is great. You should have been doing this years ago. It's that gives me the feeling that yes, I can do this, and being the positive person that I am and having all of these people come up to me makes me feel really good, knowing that I'm doing it at the right time.
That's awesome. So we're going to take some questions here pretty soon and start answering some questions. But I also wanted to bring up the Boys and Girls Club facility down in Hot Springs. Most recently, a couple candidates for office sat in a room and they started talking about the Boys and Girls Club facility. You were on the board of directors back then, and really started bad-mouthing a longtime legend in our community, John Furby. I don't know how you do that. John Furby had donated over $1 million to our clubs, to our youth programs in our community, and over time, since he was here in the 60s, he had multiple businesses, and he always had a heart for our children in our community. Our local pool is named after him, John H. Furby Pool, because of his donations. When he passed, he gave close to $1 million back to Desert Hot Springs because of his investments. When he was on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club, and I don't know exactly what happened with the executive director and all that stuff there, but the collaboration of joining the Coachella Valley Boys and Girls Club was done by the board of directors, and the city intervened with building a new rec center for that program. I know there was some money that was brought over, but all these allegations that were brought up recently and then blamed on John Furby, I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. This man was a saint to our city. He was nothing but a great donator and philanthropist. And I'll stop talking a little bit so getting my back up a little bit on when I hear this, because I just can't stand when someone passes. Even the President of the United States, when he passes, whether you like him or not, all the presidents of the United States show up and say good things about him. When John Furby passed away, whether you liked him or not, it doesn't matter at this point. What he did for the community is in stone at this point, and he was a very good man for this community.
All I can say is, this was quite some time ago, and I actually called the treasurer at the time, and I said, refresh my memory on this. This $300,000 that I'm told that, these three individuals took, John Furby being one of them. One of the other ones was Russ Martin, and Russ Martin wasn't even affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club. Randy Duncan worked for Fidelity, and John, one of his jobs as board of director was he did our investments, our portfolio. So that's basically what I know about it. I know the board voted for John to continue to do this, and in my eyes, there was never a penny stolen or taken or used for anything wrong, not from John Furby, that's for sure.
And so the point is there's a lot of candidates out there that are going to talk, and they're going to say things. And you got to do your homework. You got 7 candidates running for 2 seats. People are already putting out mailers and emails and text messages, and there's these 2, whatever you want to call them, I guess they're candidates, running around filming stuff and saying things that are just absolutely not true. And my point is to you, do your homework, ask the questions. The one thing that I've always said is that I'm fair, and I'll answer the question with the facts. And I always think information is power. I only answer questions if I have facts behind them. I don't give you empty promises, and I don't give you information that isn't factual. And this goes back to 2 elections ago when my opponent was running against me, or I was running against him, and he talked about having millions of dollars in the bank, which was untrue. And we showed that with the facts. Today, we have $11.7 million in the bank, which is a fact. We have over $7.5 million in reserves, and the rest of it's in our fund balance. That is very healthy financially for our community. So again, I go back to checking your facts, making sure that you're looking at the candidates that are going to support your ideas in your community. It bothers me when people text me, email me, and Jessica's had this issue. Are you a Democrat or a Republican? Does it really matter in a nonpartisan seat? If it does to you, I have no problem if you personally message me and asking that question, and I'll give you my party affiliation. But it doesn't mean, and I had to answer this question the other day on Facebook, we have to stay nonpartisan because we might need help from a Democratic Senate and Assembly here in the state of California for funding. We might need help if a Republican president's in office and the Republicans in the nation are in charge of certain grants. So it doesn't matter to me which affiliation they have. It matters to me what our community needs and where it needs it to come from. And the funding sometimes comes from different parties and different sides depending on who's in power at that time. So if you really have to know, and if you're really going to vote just based on party affiliation, then that's fine. that's fine, that's your prerogative. But I think it's deeper than that. We need to vote on what's important for our community and going forward with that. So we're going to get to a point here in a few minutes where we're going to ask some questions, but I want to talk about registering to vote and how the election works this year. With COVID, it's tough trying to figure it out, but everyone's getting a mail-in ballot. And if you're registered to vote right now, you can go onto my website, I believe Jessica's website, and if you look up at the top tabs there, you can tab on register to vote. It's going to take you to the link of the registrar's office, and you can actually check your voter ID on there and make sure that you're registered to vote. Remember, if you've moved and you haven't gone to the DMV to get a new address on your DMV card, you probably are going to get your ballot at your old address. If you haven't checked in years and don't know where your ballot's going because you moved a couple times, you should really check because your ballot's going to disappear. Now, we have heard there's going to be 2 locations in Desert Hot Springs a couple days before the election opens, so that if you are missing your ballot, you'll be able to go in and get a provisional ballot and get it put in for the election. And so on October 5th, which is the first Monday in October, the ballots will be released by the registrar's office to the post office. They'll be delivered to you that week, and then you can make your choice on whether you're going to vote that week or wait till the end of the election. However you choose to do it, as long as you have it in the post office the election day, it'll still get delivered to the registrar's office and counted. It's free. A lot of people ask this question, how do I get my ballot back? I got to pay this big, bulky ballot. Fill it out. Make sure you follow the directions on it. You have to sign it, and it has to be placed in the mail. So I also want to say this, is that it is illegal for someone to walk up to your door and ask you for your ballot, unless you know that person and you sign saying that person is going to take your ballot to the poll for you, or to the drop box. So again, it's illegal for someone to walk up to your door and say to you, "Can I have your ballot?" So please don't do that. It's called ballot harvesting, and that's actually illegal. So again, if you want to register to vote, that would be there. Jess, what else about your campaign that you wanted? Anything else you want to add about it? About what you're really striving to do here?
Well, what I really like more than anything is to try to bring more resources here to our city, and also let the resources that we have here. There are so many people that I've met that they didn't know we have this awesome senior center and all the programs that we have there. I didn't know it till a couple of years ago myself. The Food Now program is great, but there's a lot of other resources here in town, and I want people to know that. I also would like to, for very personal reasons, I'd love to see more health screenings done here on a regular basis. I know it's hard, like we have an urgent care that works with some people, but not all of our insurances are taken here. So for me, I want to just do my best to try to bring more of those type of resources for all families and seniors. And and I'm new at this. I'm not a politician. I never have been. I'm a person that just cares deeply about our city, and I want to do whatever I can to help make it even better. And just being a team player with you guys, I see that being the best of both worlds.
That's awesome. I love the fact you said I'm not a politician. I was elected in 2007 on the city council in a special election, and when the group of about 4 or 5 people came to my office and said, "Hey, we want you to run for city council," I said the same thing. I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about this. I was on the public safety commission because I was a 20-year volunteer fireman, and public safety was my thing, and I knew that. But what I really want you to know about Jess is that she's about community, and that's what it's really about when it comes to sitting on city council to begin with. And she's willing to not come in there and understand. She's willing to learn, and that's what it's about, because you don't know everything when you first start. I know there was one email, I believe, was sent out blast, and there was in this candidate's little blast that he wants to make sure that lifetime politicians aren't sitting at the dais anymore. I'm like, lifetime politicians? Myself and Mr. Betts have been on there for 13 years together, but I don't think there's anybody else that's been on there, nor can you get a small stipend to be on the city council, and you have an opportunity for benefits, but there's no lifetime benefits, there's no lifetime pension. While you'll serve, you'll get a stipend and you have access to city benefits, but that's about it. So I had said back when I first started that I wanted to be on city council for a short period of time. I obviously progressed, and I wasn't going to run for the mayor's seat, but at the time I thought it was important, and my wife kind of pushed me to do it, and she said, "You'd be a great mayor." I don't know if I'm a great mayor, but I believe I've been factual, good, and I think things in this community, it really moved along the last 5 years with the team that's sitting up there. And so I would love to see Jess on the team. And I think, again, doing your homework and understanding your candidates and asking the proper questions is what's important.
And you know what? Victoria is a very smart woman. Because you've been a very good man.
Thank you very much. I
Very
appreciate
good.
that. We're going to go into the Q&A now, and so Victoria's going to step back into the picture here, and she's going to start asking us some questions and get us into some conversation. Again, if you're on a social platform there, you should be able to type in some sort of chat there, a question that you have. Again, if you're watching this and it's not live, meaning that we're floating in at a different time, you can always send messages to Jess and I's Facebooks and any other social media platform and ask those questions, and we'll get answers back to you.
Hi everybody! I don't think you were able to see me on the camera earlier, but I'm Victoria Mattis. I'm Scott's wife and Jess's friend. So thanks for being with us again tonight, this time with Jess. I have to fix this. I've been watching this online and it's driving me insane. It is not in the middle, so hopefully I fix that. So hi Chuck. So I just wanted to pop in. We only have, I think, about 5 questions.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys can continue to send those questions in. We'll get those answers for you. Thanks again for being with us. So let me go ahead and get started with one of our questions. So Nicholas Leon, hopefully I said that correctly, submitted a question, and he says, will there be a debate or forum that will feature all of the candidates?
So, Nicholas, I appreciate the question, and I think we would all love that. Usually the Chamber of Commerce or some association puts them on, but again, COVID has really stopped people from moving forward on these forums. I understand that CVCAN, which is the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network, is actually going to do a forum on October 15th with all the candidates. That's all I've heard. I know the Chamber of Commerce had talked about possibly doing it, but meaning that this all has to be done by Zoom and it can't be done live, it's been a little difficult. Usually the Desert Sun towards the end of the month does an editorial board. We have not heard about that yet. And I'm trying to think, I can't think of any, no one else has contacted you, right?
NBC, yesterday I had a short interview with someone, but I haven't seen it air yet. And then I did get a thing from, an email from someone, Shane, at the Desert Sun.
Yes. So they'll do some candidate spotlights, but a forum or debate, we have not heard. I know the last election, the candidate that was running against me wanted a couple debates. He started putting them together, but he did them himself, and they were just kind of ridiculous, so we just backed away from them. But if any organizations want to organize them and do them, I think we're all open to having a good debate.
Yeah, perfect. I agree with that. I have been bugging Scott nonstop. Like, we have to get this information out there. We really need a debate. We need to see what everybody's stances are on different subjects and allow people to ask questions. Unfortunately, that hasn't really come to fruition yet. Hopefully that does happen. I think it would be really good to get that information out there to all of you.
Nicholas, if you want to, spearhead this, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the next question we have is for Jessica, and it's from Brian Berjowski. His question is, what as a real estate agent gives you insight into our community and running for a seat on the city council?
Well, as I said, I've been selling real estate here for 25 years, and I seem to know, I know the areas, I know where we've really increased our home prices. And, just recently, I was just telling some people, I'm amazed. The lowest amount of homes we've ever had on the market have been like 82 homes. Currently, we have 45 homes on the market active. So it's really become like a seller's market, which always increases the prices. And I think some of that's due to COVID, but not all of it. There's a lot of reasons that we are known now. I mean, really, people come here and they're shocked. And it's just made our prices increase over the years. And, it's cyclical, I know, but for the most part, Desert Hot Springs has really gone up, and it's continuing to do so. And we're still the best value in the valley.
And what's great about Jess being on the city council and understanding real estate is she understands that people are moving here, families are moving here, people are buying homes. You only have 45 homes on the market right now is awesome. And the reason I think that is because people are buying the homes and living here. We used to have close to 50%, if not higher, of absentee owners in our community. And that meant people were just buying homes and renting them out. That doesn't help on your home values. What helps on your home values is when you get families and people to buy homes and live here, and that actually decreased. We saw a study about a year and a half ago that was closer to 42% of the homes were actually owned by non-absentee, or only 42% was owned by absentee landlords. So as we progress with more homes, and right now we've had 72 building permits pulled for homes in our community, and we continue to get these old projects in the Great Recession that went under back up and running. We've got Skyborn.
Yeah, exactly.
We got Rolling Hills, the one down at the post office, Agua Dolce. We've got all those revived and starting to build again. And those home prices are starting out close to $300,000, if not higher. And that brings up some great values.
Yeah, many of them are over 3, most of them are, and it's really, I think it's great for the community. And on a side note, I am really thrilled with our economic development manager, Denise Hammett. I've talked to her several times, and she's really bringing more and more building here. And that's going to be great to help raise our prices and our values of our homes.
And if you don't know much about Denise, is that for many years we had a contract for economic development, meaning we'd have a contract with a company that would go out and look for retail, commercial businesses, but they always had multiple cities under contract. So if a business came here and said, well, I really don't know about Desert Hot Springs, the traffic counts aren't high enough, they go, okay, well, I got another city for you to go look at. We brought that in-house, meaning Denise Hammett is our economic development manager, and what she's doing now is she's actually working for Desert Hot Springs. She goes out and talks about Desert Hot Springs and gives the reasons why businesses need to be here, and she's helping promote that. So over the next year or so, we're going to have some great announcements coming. My State of the City will be delivered next week. It's been videoed. It's being put out. It will be put out on social media, and it's going to talk about some of the great things we have coming to our community.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question is from John Tinker for you, Jessica. Sorry, Scott, you're not getting a lot of questions.
Hi, John.
So John Tinker's question for you, Jess, is what is your stance on homelessness in Desert Hot Springs? It has become a serious issue, and how do we help as a city?
Gosh, that's a great question. I know that we have a certain faith-based group that's helping right now, and I've heard talk about tiny houses and so forth. There's always been this pie in the sky thing that I've thought about for years. We have a lot of homes in the area that have been boarded up. They've just been like, no one's lived there. We don't know the owners. I don't know if they've paid their taxes or what's going on, but they're just sitting there. So for me, it's like, well, why can't we somehow, as a city, work on some way to get those homes ready and have homeless people that really want to find a home and do sweat equity and help to work on getting into these homes. I think that would be one way to do it. We also need, of course, like some facilities. I live next door to a VA home, and I've been there for 17 years, and they are the nicest people. Now, granted, they roll in and out. They're there for maybe 3 months, but if they're on a residential street, there's 7 or 8 of them that live there. They have nowhere else to go, and there's always a stigma, and there shouldn't be, because they've been great neighbors, and I'm all for more homes like that as well. Anything we can do as a community to help, I'm for it. So any ideas, please bring them on.
And I'll feed off that a little bit. The city has put in quite a bit of money in a regional program for homeless. And homeless doesn't mean that you're living on the street. Homeless can be that mom lost her job and had to move in with mom and dad, and the kids are living with them and they're looking for a home. There's many programs out there, and these are types where we can take these homes and renovate them and put them in homes with these regional programs. We are also, if you go to Food Now right now, they partner with Martha's Village, and they are actually giving some services to homeless right now. Maria Lopez, who's a local in our community, is working with the Methodist Church and now has a program working with them to revive the rec center behind the Methodist Church into what she wants to call nonprofit Community One. And she's going to be working with homeless and people that can't get jobs and put them back in the community to work and get them the resumes they need so that they can get back into the workforce. See, we've also worked very closely with Word of Life Church. John, you know that church, you can obviously go there.
Yeah.
But their old location, the former location on Estrella there has been turned into a cooling center and a winter, what do they call it, a warm center?
Yeah.
During the winter, so that when homeless need a place to go when it's sub-zero out there or the heat's at 120, they can actually have services. So we've collaborated a lot recently on homeless issues. One of the things that Jess doesn't know about, I don't know if I forgot to mention this to her, but our police department has put a special enforcement team together, and what they're doing is they're dressing in plain clothes and they're going out on the streets and they're actually talking to homeless, giving them services they need. It's very hard for a police officer to roll up on a homeless person and get out of the car because they feel they're being threatened by the uniform. So what we're doing now is that they're going out and they're actually just walking up to them and talking to them and giving them the services they need. Our police chief went out with a small group of police officers recently, and they made 6 contacts, and all 6 of them asked or were given help. So these are the things that our city's doing and working on, ideas like Jess just had. These are really great.
And I think Coachella Valley Housing Coalition too, I think that's another great program. And I know they were here for a long time. I actually sold probably 50 lots to them in neighborhoods, and the other neighbors were like, oh my gosh, no. And they came up later and said, they're the nicest people. Their home showed pride of ownership more than most people's.
That's sweat equity. So these people have to build their own homes, and they build pride in their communities. So there's a lot of great programs out there, and we just got to continue to support them.
Thanks, John.
Perfect. Okay, so we have another question from Tony. So I'm not for sure who's going to answer this, but the question is, do you have any plans on changing the city tax rate of $25.50 per square feet for cultivation? I just purchased a home in DHS and I want to get more information before I vote.
You want me to take this one?
You better, since I'm not familiar with this one.
So, Tony, thank you for the question. It's one of the big questions in the cannabis industry right now is our rate. So, a little history on that. In 2012-13, went to the voters, said, hey, how do you guys feel about cannabis? 70% of them said, yes, you can tax cannabis, come up with something. Or you can tax cannabis at these rates. We really want that in our community. So, with that said, the city council put together the process. Not realizing the first large-scale cultivation be opened at the Hot Springs. And what he's referring to is the first 3,000 feet or 25, 50 square foot, and then after that it goes to $10 a square foot, depending on how large your grow space is. And we charge for grow space only, we don't charge for manufacturing. If you actually average that out, we're one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in the Coachella Valley on rates. But we know with marketing it's tough, and that $25 is a tough sell to some businesses when they look at it. And so the city council put together a strategic planning session about 2 years ago. Because of COVID, it got a little behind, but we decided to take pieces of that, cannabis tourism, taxation. We had some other facilities like our local hotels that want to open up cannabis-related spa treatments. So all that was taken and talked about in different settings for the last year and a half. And the city manager is bringing back these items, each of these items here and there. Now, I believe on the October 6th meeting, we'll be hearing some of the rest of the strategic planning, which I believe has to do with the taxation. The city council will make a decision at that point. The city council can lower the tax. It can't raise the tax without the voters. So the way the tax measure was set up, to be competitive in the industry, we can raise it, we can lower it to an amount that would be more competitive and make sure that we're not losing business to other cities. So that'll be a discussion, I believe October 6th on that meeting. If the city manager is ready with that at that time, we'll be bringing that forward for us to discuss. And the lowest in the valley right now is $10 a square foot. That's Palm Springs City, but they also do charge, I believe, 3 cents a square foot for manufacturing. So if you average that in, we're still pretty close to being the lowest in the valley. But again, a discussion on October 6th.
Could I ask you one thing to also explain that you've explained to me, is that sometimes when I've watched the meetings, it's been the cultivators that come in and they say tax. Some of these are fees versus taxes.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so Desert Hot Springs is very fortunate because we had a very large industrial area that wasn't developed. And when the cannabis industry was looking for places to build, they thought of Desert Hot Springs. And I always said Desert Hot Springs is one of the only cities fully, completely north of the I-10, and you had to have reason to come here. When you get off the freeway at Highway 111, you can drive through every other city except for Desert Hot Springs. So there had to be a reason to come here, and that was the reason that I believe, in my opinion, is that industry never set off at Desert Hot Springs. So we were very fortunate to now see that that industry was, because of the way we set up our taxes and being able to do that in our city, a lot of land got bought up. But as time went on and other cities developed their taxation and allowed cannabis into their cities, it is easier for a developer to buy an existing warehouse and do tentative improvements on it because they don't have to pay the development impact fees. Development impact fees are a study that's done by each and every city through a nexus study, and it basically, when a development is built, whether it's a Walmart or a 7-Eleven or a mom and pop shop, strip mall, the developer pays what we call development impact fees. And those are fees on impacts in the community. So they pay a fee for future police stations to be built, future fire stations to be built, future government buildings to be built, future parks to be built, roadway, what it's going to, they pay a traffic fee for the traffic, and it goes on. There's a whole list of fees. That becomes some developers, especially when they come from other states, don't do their full due diligence, and they find these development impact fees are quite high sometimes if you're going to build 1 million square feet or 300,000 square feet. And so they come and they say, I'm already paying all these fees and now you're charging these taxes, and so you need to lower the tax or you need to lower these fees, and those are always it's a tug of war, because we as city council, 5 members, have to make sure we balance that for our constituents. You're asking us to lower the tax, but we're already taking in $4.3 million in cannabis tax. So how do you lower the tax and then subsidize what you're going to lose over time? Do you rip off the Band-Aid now, or do you rip off the Band-Aid later, trying to be competitive in the market? When it comes to development impact fees, you have to be able to do that nexus study, have the organizations in your public hearings, and those last for sometimes up to 10 years, maybe 15, and then you redo those studies and make sure that that you're still getting cost recovery. Now, the other thing about the fees that's a misnomer a lot of times is that we're charging fees and we're making all this money. Government can't make money. The fees that are implemented are fees that are recovering the cost of our staff time and or the fees of the impact in your community. There is no putting extra money in there and taking it and hoarding it anywhere. You can't do that, that's illegal. I hope that explains it.
I got a lot of information in that. So John Tinker has kind of a joking question, and it's for the mayor.
No more questions from John.
So he says, for the mayor,
I know exactly what it's going to be.
can we please get an In-N-Out and DHS? And also, why are you so great at being the mayor, but you suck at fantasy football?
I knew that was coming, John. I knew it was coming. So, I believe I played John last week in fantasy football, and I lost. So congratulations. And because of that, I will never get an In-N-Out for you. No, I'm joking, John. In-N-Out Burger has been one of the talks for a long time. They obviously is a franchise, and we've actually tried to market our corridor on I-10 because they want to be on a major highway. As you see, most of them are on either interstates or major highways in cities. Traffic count's a lot to do with it. There was one point where we were back before the recession really hit us hard. In-N-Out was looking at the corners of Indian Canyon and I-10. We were trying to entice them on our side, not the Palm Springs side, and they were really hip about trying to be on the Palm Springs side, and then they ended up building one in Cabazon. So as of right now, I don't know if we're saturated when it comes to their planning model, but those are types of businesses, on a serious note, that we continue to work with Denise on, is that there's a corner at Palm and I-10, and then again at Indian and I-10 that we've set aside for retail development, and we hope to entice some retail. Denise is going at it, and I hope by next year we'll be able to make some great announcements in those areas. And if we can throw In-N-Out Burger in there, that'd be wonderful. Even though I'm on keto right now, so we'll have to wait.
Okay, so one last question. Brian Brandowski says, I know that you guys were talking a lot about how there's a lot of negativity out there in social media, and a lot of it's false and just made up, and we get frustrated when we hear that. So Brian wants to know, what do you say when a person is negative about DHS?
Personally, well, let me just start by saying when I first became a realtor here and I started advertising, and I'd say, I have these homes for sale in these magazines, right? And people would call me and they'd say, oh, you're in Desert Hot Springs? And at first, I have real thin skin, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I'd go, oh, I'm sorry. Then I started saying, it's your loss, you have no idea. And pretty soon, I would entice people to come over. I think that you just need to spin a positive with a negative. I won't go negative. I mean, I've had a couple of people that are candidates that have said stuff, and I think everybody has a chance. There's 7 seats for city council. I hope to be one of them, but I wish everybody the best of luck. I mean, we're all going to be living in this community, and that's how I feel. So I think we always should be positive no matter what.
And I'll add to that. I mean, it's one of those things that is so tough for me to listen to the negativity. And my wife, she watches social media quite a bit for us, and always. I don't answer a lot of social media, but we listen. We read a lot of it. And sometimes we, as our constituents, are the worst at making our city sound the worst. There is so much positive about this community, and if we could focus on the 90% positive and not so much the 10% negative, I think we can really turn around our city. We don't have the highest crime in the Coachella Valley, and that can be proven by stats. Right now, there is 3 other cities that have higher crime than us. I'm not going to sit here and call those cities out. You can do your own research on that. I'm not here because I work really closely with the region and with the other mayors in this community, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, you have the highest crime in the valley, but I can tell you right now the stats prove that we don't. And these are the Part 1 crimes. These are the worst crimes that you can have. Recently, we just took in over $4 million in grant funding that actually redid Palm Drive, made a safety corridor. There was a mom that lost her daughter down in front of a mobile home park, 4 years ago? And at that time, we were getting ready to start our safety corridor there. And we as a community got together. I took another council member, went down to their community, listened to their concerns, and we convinced the city council to put a signal light there. That was up and beyond what was actually slated for there. At the same time, the family came in and said, we've lost our family member, but these are the things that we think you need to correct. And we listened to them. And they wanted science called the safety corridor of Palm Drive, and we did that. We actually took that grant and we made safer bike routes and put more lighting in the streets. And we put more signals to slow traffic down. Right now, we're showing that we have 0 fatalities this year when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian on Palm Drive. Now, the year's not over, but right now, if you compare last January through August, we have 42% less casualties along that stretch, meaning people hit with cars because of these things we implemented, which is positive change for our community. Our current council listens, and if there's something that you see out there, please bring it to us. Personal message us, send us emails, call us on the phone. I don't think there's been a time that anyone has called me and I haven't gone out and tried to find a solution for them. Now, I'm not all over social media saying, look what I did, and taking pictures of it. I just think it's important as your representative here at Desert Hot Springs, and I think Jessica, a lot like me, is that we get a complaint, we would go figure out how to find a solution to it. Might not always be the solution you want, but we'll do our best at that time. But when it comes to you being positive about your community, let's talk about the positive things. We just had a bunch of seniors graduate high school here in our community, didn't get a graduation, but people went up and beyond by going out and giving them baskets of nice gifts and saying thank you for graduating from Desert Hot Springs High School. I have a son that just graduated college a year ago, and one of his friends is just got accepted to medical school. He did 4 years of pre-med, now he's going to medical school. And then his other friend, who just finished 4 years of school, is going to law school at NYU. These are kids graduating from our high school. Those are positive things we need to talk about. When we look at our community, we talk about the feeding families in our community. We have 350 families on a normal basis that need food. We have great volunteers that come out and make sure that happens a couple times a week at Food Now. Now, we have 550 families. We have 200 more families that need help. The Rotary Club, the Senior Center, all these faith-based organizations got together and made that happen. These are positive things about our community. We have a group called Advancing Desert Hot Springs that has been putting positive things out on Facebook, on all social media platforms, talking about the positives of Desert Hot Springs. But I also have a guy that likes to go around and take pictures of trash in alleys. All you gotta do is call us. We pay $250,000 a year. I'll have that yellow truck there the next day. I know there's other council members that will take that and have that truck there the next day to clean that up. We don't need to shake our head and talk about the negatives that dumb people do because somebody dumped trash there. You need to get it cleaned up, and we can do that for you. So let's talk about the positives in our community, and let's change that ourselves.
Can I say one more thing about when Scott was just talking about the schools? We have an Interact Club at the high school. We had 20 seniors graduate this year. And of those 20 seniors, they each were accepted to either universities, the majority of them, or they are going to be going to COD or another 2-year college, only because they have a sibling at home and they don't want to leave till the sibling graduates. So, and these kids all had 4.2 to 4.7 GPAs. So our schools are doing something right. And the teachers, I see them all the time. They have the biggest heart for the students here. It's great. I can't say enough about our schools, and I'm just glad that we get to see this on a regular basis, and I hope that all the people out there will know how much our educators care here, because that's really important.
Absolutely. Any more questions?
We do have questions. So David Powell actually put a comment in, and it goes along really well with what you guys are talking about staying positive. So David Powell's comment, I just want to read out because I love what he says. The people who complain about Desert Hot Springs have not spent much time there. It is a community where all are welcome and work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. People focus on the negative and do not focus on the positive. There is much positive, and I've had many nice visits to the area, the businesses, and a spa or two. There are many hidden gems in the town and the surrounding area. So thank you, David. We appreciate that. It's always good to hear positive stuff.
It sure is. I always say that Desert Hot Springs is the little city with the biggest heart because we care and we have so many great volunteers here.
Yeah, for the people that are out there complaining and being negative, maybe you should get involved and you'll be a little more happier if you give back. So we do have one more question. Again, it's from Nicholas Leon.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. He is mentioning another candidate for mayor. Is it okay if I mention by name, or should I just read the question?
There's only one other candidate. They can figure out who he is.
Okay. So this person said that the Boys and Girls Club had a budget of $800,000 before he left that organization. Based on the 2019 and 2020 budget, the Health and Wellness Center operates with something more than $400,000. Do we need to spend that much on the Health and Wellness Center? And what are priorities for funding given the money we have been able to save?
Say the first part of the question again, because I think that was, I just want to make sure I got it right. He's saying when that former
Yes.
mayor left.
He said that there was a budget of $800,000 before he left, and then according to the 2019 and 2020 budget, there was a $400,000 budget.
Well, Nicholas, I can tell you this. This is what I know, and maybe Jess can chime in a little bit. I wasn't part of the board of directors when that person was the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. And I don't know what happened with the either termination or dismissal or walked away from his job. That's obviously between them and him. I know that at that time, the Desert Hot Springs, the board of directors asked the city of Desert Hot Springs to collaborate with them on bringing the Coachella Valley Boys and Girls Club to the community to run that club. And they did so for a couple of years before they moved into the new rec center. I know that we subsidized that program for $250,000 a year. I don't know what their total budget was, but I know that's what the city put into the Boys and Girls Club while they were here. There was an agreement made that we would continue to subsidize them while they worked on philanthropy in the community, and John Furby continued to work on that with them. The problem with our community is they didn't have a lot of philanthropy, and all four of their other clubs were on East Valley, and most of their philanthropy was coming from farmers and other philanthropists down in East Valley that wanted to see money go to those clubs. When I first became mayor, we started to see a problem on coming up with that $250,000 a year in the budget, and I went and sat with some board members of the Coachella Valley Boys and Girls Club, and I said, what's the solution here? And they said, we need to dissolve that club and want to know if you can run your own rec program. And so we compromised, we did that. The Boys and Girls Club dissolved their charter here, and we as the city of Desert Hot Springs contracted with Borrego Health to run the rec club, which they do to today. And so they run about, I believe there's a little over 100 kids at the program. They run it similar to the Boys and Girls Club, but it's more focused on education. I recently took a tour there, and all of the members of that, all the staff members of the club are now actually educators, and the kids, love to be able to go there and run around and play a lot of games and play in the gym, but it's more structured, and it is focused a little bit around education, so they get to go and get help with their homework, but they also get to go to the science lab the art lab and do artwork, and the computer lab and do computer work, and then they do get their free time in there. I'm not sure exactly, again, on the budget portion of it. Was there another portion of that question that I missed?
Yeah, he wants to know what are your priorities for funding, given the money that you've been able to save.
So right now, it hasn't cost the city. This year, because of COVID, we did have to subsidize $100,000, but in the past, how they've subsidized the program is that Borrego Health has a federal subsidy, is that if every child goes for a health check, they're able to get the membership that's due for that. There are some parents that have to now pay memberships because of COVID, but for the most part, the city's not subsidizing if much for the rec center. Now, for the rest of the center, we do run the pool program. So that is, I'm not sure what the budget is exactly for the pool. And the rest of the rec center, the gym itself and the actual Borrego Health or dental services are run by Borrego Health. But we can get you a breakdown on exactly that, but I don't think that we're spending more than a couple $100,000 right now each year. There are maintenance costs, obviously, for the building and those types of things, but we can get you more of a breakdown on that. Do you want to add anything about Boys and Girls Club?
Only that I think that even I've heard another candidate say that they would like to bring the Boys and Girls Club back, the Desert Hot Springs Boys and Girls Club. That's something that I would truly not be against. I'd like to see this program and see how it goes. I haven't been there in a while because I don't have children that go there, and I've been a little bit more focused on some of the other youth programs. But I do think that what happened back years ago, there's a lot of it that is confidential that I'm not allowed to really speak of as a previous board member. But all I can say is please don't believe everything you hear, because there's always more than one side to a story, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
And the Boys and our rec club is currently open, and because of COVID, you would need to call and make an appointment if you want to take a tour of it. But I would suggest that as COVID starts to relax, take a tour and see the program itself. I think you'd be amazed on what's going on there. And there's no hard feelings with the Coachella Valley Boys and Girls Club when they left. There was reasons behind that. Again, it was financial, and we parted ways and we came up with a better program in my eyes. And I still support the Boys and Girls Club mission in general. And again, I don't know why the former the candidates running against me left that club, and I don't need to know. But I certainly would ask him to stop putting false information out there and making comments that are absolutely ridiculous, such as John Furby was a gambler and John Furby didn't do anything for that club but waste their money. That's ridiculous.
Amen.
Okay, perfect. So I know that we're running close to when we would like to end. I did just have one question, which I love to ask because everybody knows I was born and raised here in Desert Hot Springs, as well as Scott. So I wanted to ask Jess a question that I know that Scott and I have relayed information on. So you've been here in the community for a very long time. So give us one of your most amazing memories of Desert Hot Springs.
Okay. I have to say, probably one of my most sentimental ones. I don't want to tear up, but it was probably, let's see, I was on the board of directors for the Desert Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce, and that's when we did the parades. And one year, Santa couldn't make it. So I talked my husband into being Santa for this particular year. And so we ended up at Kmart Center, and he gets out of the car, and all these little kids are taking pictures with Santa. And and my husband smoked at the time, and I'm like, put that cigarette out, you're Santa Claus. But anyway, with that said, he gets out, and he's talking to all the kids, and 3 little kids from 3 different families happened to stick notes in the pocket of the Santa outfit. So we were getting ready to take it to the cleaners like the next day, and he reached in the pocket, and these kids said, "Dear Santa," and they had written what they wanted for Christmas. And my husband went out that day to Kmart and wherever and bought those gifts and took them and put them on their doorsteps because they left their addresses. And that's what, to me, Desert Hot Springs is all about, how everybody cares and loves each other, takes care of each other.
And Jess lost her husband years ago, but she now has a wonderful fiance, and he doesn't realize that he'll be Santa this year.
That's right.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate that. It really continues to show that no matter when you moved here, if you're new here, get to know the people of Desert Hot Springs. Not everybody is negative. There's a lot of really good, positive people here that want to see this community continue to grow and do good things, and a lot of families that are continuing to raise their children here, just like we are. And we do raise awesome kids that go on to do amazing things. And if you guys want to give back, if you want to send me a message, Scott, Jess, anybody, we can definitely point you in the right direction for that. I really appreciate you being here with us. I'm going to send it back over to Scott and Jess, but for me, I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you to my beautiful wife for asking those questions and getting that out there. We're going to end with Jess. Why don't you tell them about your website and where they can find out more information about you?
Well, I have a Facebook page, Just for DHS, and I also have my website, which is justfordhs.com. And you can go on there, you can register to vote, you can make donations, you can see some of the things that I've done in the community. And I'm here to support you. I am here for you guys. So email me, text me, do whatever you want. My phone number's out there. If there's anything you want to know about or any kind of programs you're interested in, especially if you have something of a need, and just directly to any seniors out there, if you are seeing this and you need help, please call me. I will be there. I will make sure you get what you need. You will have food. You will have groceries every week. I don't want to ever see anyone go hungry or not have someone to talk to. So please just know I'm here, and whether or not I win, I hope I win, but I'm always going to be here for the people of DHS.
So as Jeff said, please vote. Whether you vote for us or you vote for someone else, it's your constitutional right to vote for somebody. And I always tell people this: if there's anybody that you're going to vote for, it should be your local leaders, because those are the people that you can walk in their office, you can call them on the phone. I get people shocked every time they call my phone number and they think they're going to get an office number, and it's my cell phone. And they're like, am I talking to the mayor? Yes, you are. And these are the ways that you get your local issues taken care of, because you can actually, again, walk in our office, call us on the phone, email us, and we can get those things done for you. Also, I wanted to say that we do have signs, yard signs. I know Jess has some, I have some. I know there's been a few that have asked for yard signs. We haven't got them delivered yet, but we'll get them out to you. We've got a second round of signs coming through here. We put a bunch out, and there's some knuckleheads out there taking them down, but we'll, these are what we use donations for, and we'll get them back up. And then if you ask for one in your yard, we'll get one there. My website is www.vote.scottmattis. That's SCOTTMATAS.com. www.vote.scottmattis.com, and you can get my platform on there. You can email me through there. You can register to vote through there. You can endorse me. Both our websites, I believe, have endorsement tabs. That's if you can't do anything else during COVID and you want to help out our campaigns, a nice endorsement with just a small spiel about what you like about us on our pages would be great. And then again, we're on all the social platforms, and where's Merck? How about Burke Media? I was trying to make a combination there. They handle all our platforms there and get some messages to us. So I want to thank them again for being here today to take care of this. And then again, for Jess joining me tonight. But again, my slogan is a realistic vision with real results, and that's proven. So with that, have a wonderful evening.